Well, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Take 5. It has been a while, it sure has, but I'm now re-inspired. Even though I'm tired and even though I work a lot, I am re-inspired to do these because I found out somebody who's been watching them. And so I'm not exactly sure where I left off last time, but I'm going to jump back in here in John chapter 19. If I repeat things, oh well. If I skip part, well, you just go back and read it yourself. But we are in John. We have, if you've been with me from the beginning, or if you're willing to scroll back far enough on my Facebook page, we started in Matthew chapter 1 on January 1st of 2011, and now we're up to John 19. We go 5 minutes, however far we get, that's how far we get. John 19 verse 1, Then Pilate took Jesus and flogged him. Now, we're dealing with the suffering of our Lord Jesus, and this is on Thanksgiving week, but this is certainly something we should be thankful for, the fact that Jesus was willing to die for us and willing to suffer. When we talk about flogging, what that entailed, what the Romans, this was very cruel. This was, everything they did was cruel. They didn't have subtle means of punishment. They would take several cords that usually were made out of leather, and then they would have attached to the cords things like little pieces of rock and glass and things like that. And when somebody was hit with one of those things, it would cut into their flesh. The idea, it was designed to tear the flesh off of them. It was not like beating somebody with a belt, which is bad enough, or a kendo stick that they use in Asian countries, which would cause things like broken bones. But this was designed to rip the flesh, to cause somebody to bleed severely. So that's what they did. Verse 2, And the soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head and arrayed him in a purple robe. Now what they're doing here is they're mocking him. Jesus, of course, is claimed to be the king of the Jews. The people have proclaimed him king, and so the soldiers are saying, "Yeah, you're really a king, huh?" And they've just taken, and these aren't just like your little ordinary thorns that we have nowadays in America. These were very long, sharp thorns from a particular bush that they had out there. And so you know, you had to be very careful handling them, but they just shoved it right down on his head. So there would have been more blood coming out of Jesus' head when they put that crown on there. And then they put him in a purple robe, and purple was very rare back then. So this was actually an expensive robe that they had. Purple showed you were wealthy or royalty. And they're saying, "Look, you're the king," and they mock him there. Verse 3, they came up to him saying, "Hail, King of the Jews," and struck him with their hands. So they were mocking him and punching him in the face, and just having, that was their idea of a good time, you know. And that's who the soldiers were, you know. And they didn't have the kind of codes that our soldiers have nowadays. When, you know, I remember a few months ago when there was video shown of our soldiers doing something to one of our captives. It was outrage all over the world, and there should have been, because there needs to be a code of honor among soldiers. These guys didn't have that. Okay, they just they were brutes, they were thugs, they were hoodlums, but they were tough. I mean, that's why they were soldiers. You get them in battle, they could do some damage, but this is what they thought was a good time. But they hated the Jews with a passion. They did not like Jews at all. And so that's where the "Hail, King of the Jews." Pilate went out again and said to them, talking about the crowd, "See, I am bringing him out to you, that you may know that I find no guilt in him." I'm going to stop right there at verse 4. But the fact is, Jesus was not guilty of anything, and yet he was punished for the guilt of everybody. Now, on the flip side, we are guilty of killing him, and yet we will not be punished for that if we put our faith in him. if we ever start getting too upset about injustice, I was talking to somebody and she said injustice really bothers her. And it should. Injustice bothers me too. But there simply has never been anything more unjust than the righteous suffering for the guilty as Jesus did, and the guilty getting to go free because of that as we do. Okay? Anyway, that's it. That's my Take 5 for today. I am so glad to be doing it again. Thank you to the one who inspired me again. And we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. I'm not going to promise, but you'll start seeing them again. I will assure you that for the next edition of Take 5.